Okay, first off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the grand predecessor and predecessors and transmitting masters, to have this opportunity to continue to talk about, this book here, the Answers to the Truth, which, a lot of questions. There were a lot of questions that either people had, or even, I don't know if it's Holy Teacher who put forth these questions that people might have. So now we're already on part 3, which it's just various different questions. Okay, so first question here: why should one, with a kind heart, a lot of people they say, "Oh, I'm a good person. Why do I need to receive the Tao?" Right? So just like Joe, you're a good person, right? Yeah. So I assume.
I would feel I have a good heart.
Yeah.
Overall.
Okay.
I'm not malicious.
Not malicious. Yeah. So why, we talk about this Tao. Why do you want to receive that Tao? Receive this Tao blessing. We say it's a blessing. Actually, it is a blessing. If you want to say that. But basically, as a good person, we want to eliminate suffering, right? What? For ourselves and for others, obviously. So that is actually the purpose of Tao. Okay. So, and ultimately, we want to not just eliminate suffering in this lifetime. I don't know. Do you believe in reincarnation?
I'm open to so many different things, and you know what? I know in my life right now, I cannot attain certain experience, fulfillment. And at this point, 50 years old, I say maybe there's something more to it, where we have to experience these type of things, and then maybe the next life something else happens. Why do one lose children in this life and suffer this great pain? Did they do something before? It's definitely open and could make a lot of sense.
Right.
And my concept of it is this universe, God, whatever it may be, and this is one a way to it.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a pretty good open understanding.
Yes.
Yeah. We always ask, when something bad happens to good people, why does that happen, right? And we say, unfortunately, we see this life, right? So we have very short-sighted. Our vision is limited. Whereas a saint or some enlightened being, Buddha, they can see the past, so they know the causes of these things. So everything really happens. There's a reason. Okay, whether we understand it or not, there is a reason. Things don't just happen randomly. Okay, if it's random, then God is very cruel. Okay, but we know God it's love, is just. So there has to be a reason. And so we have to understand that there is this principle of causality, right? Things happen. We plant a seed, and you get a result later on. Okay, so all the scriptures, they all talk about that in different ways. So once we understand that, then then we have to figure out, well, okay, how do we? So first we understand our condition, our situation. That these are the causes of. There are some causes, let's say, whether it's, within our family. Actually, this is what we call karma in general, okay? Karma is the result of, what we say, the karmic results that we see is the result of previous, the karmic seeds that were planted, okay? So the karmic seeds, whether it's in this life, earlier in this life, or even previous lifetimes that we cannot see, and so those are things. It's very logical, right? Like you say, it makes sense. And certainly in this life we see it, right? We can see kind of immediate. Sometimes they say instant karma, right? So something happens right away that you can tell that that's a consequence of the earlier action. But that principle applies throughout time and space. So it only makes sense that as long as we believe that we have like a soul that persists, that continues throughout time, not just in this one lifetime, then of course, then obviously, if we existed in previous lifetimes, then obviously we have done things in previous lifetime, and that could result in something consequence in this lifetime. And then obviously the interactions with other people, that it gets very complicated. Yeah, right. And so, but in terms of like our family, why are we born in this family? It's due to karma from past lives. There's previous relationships in previous lives, and it's carried over. Probably because things are unfulfilled. Whether maybe, we owe someone something, and they're just trying to collect in this life, okay? Or it could be the other way around, okay? So these are all the things that can happen. And so ultimately, so we say, okay, so I'm a good person, but we still have to suffer through these karmic consequences, okay?
A lot of struggle in life.
There's a lot of struggling.
A lot.
So wouldn't we want to try to, okay, so we have to accept, I do have to pay off my debts, okay, in this life. But do I want to continue to do that in the next life and the life after that and so on? Or there's a better way. Like Buddha realized that there is a better way. We can transcend this cycle, right, this rat race, by addressing the causes. Okay, so obviously the previous causes, we can't address those. We can't change those. We can prevent planting future karmic seeds, but we still need to pay off our debts. So receiving the Tao can allow us to do that, okay? So that's why it's a blessing. It's people don't realize it, but it allows us to, through what we call cultivation or practice, to pay off our karmic debts, okay? And to then leave this cycle of reincarnation, okay? So that's really the greatest thing about receiving this Tao, right? And in the past, over thousands of years, throughout history, people have been seeking what they would call this, the holy grail of, immortality, so to speak. The immortality is not being reincarnated in this world for, continuously. So it's to transcend that. But in the past, people had to have been pretty much enlightened, okay, to be able to receive it. And they have to be in the right place at the right time to encounter that, what we call this enlightening master, to point out, or to, you can say, transmit that ultimate truth to us, okay. Today it's different. Because of the timing, it has a lot to do with timing and everything, and affinity. Today, the fact that you're here means that you have some affinity, okay, to be here. Whether you are willing to go through with it and accept, that blessing, that's the next step. And it all depends on our past, what we call the accumulation of our previous, you can say, merits and virtues in previous lifetimes. Are you religious? Have a
spiritual.
You're kind of
religious. I don't believe there's any one way to. I really get the concept of we're seeking for this, and for whatever reason of our understanding with culturally or Western, Eastern, different religions that were formed throughout the years, also for power struggles, and created so many wars, Judaism, and there were different concepts in our cultural world to be able to understand to get there.
Right.
Okay. That's how I kind of.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Do I practice any religion? I was born Roman Catholic.
Okay. Yeah.
I have beautiful Christmases with 7-foot Christmas trees, but I, through my own struggle, have definitely developed another. If I wasn't connected to something that reveals itself to me, I don't think I would be here. The struggle would have took me out.
Right.
And I get coincidentals and signs, including meeting Tony this couple of weeks in the last couple of years, that small miracles in my life to keep me going. So yes, I am definitely connected. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Religions, they all teach us to be good, to follow the correct way, to follow our conscience and all that. So the teachings are good. It's just a question. Okay, so this Tao actually is not. The Tao can be. It's hard to talk about the Tao in its entirety, but there are very different aspects to it. But the Tao is not religion. Okay, so that's one key point. Whereas obviously our practice of the Tao, seems like other religious practices. Okay, but the Tao itself is not religion. Okay, actually all religions come from this Tao. Okay, the Tao is, you can say, is that universal truth. Okay, or it's God. Okay, you can say God. All right, so everything comes from that.
Buddha was like Jesus Christ.
Yes, exactly. Like yes, they were all like
this.
They were all enlightened beings. Yes,
and enlightened beings. And
right.
They were all touched by God to speak to.
Right.
The culture.
Right. Exactly. So that's why
we are different.
So
different ways.
Of talking. Thing. Exactly. Yeah. So because that truth is indescribable, it cannot be spoken of absolutely. The relative means of teaching in different cultures, different languages, right? Yes. That's why they have different religions, but they're all trying to talk about the same truth. Right. Okay. Yeah.
I get that.
100%. Okay. Oh, good. So if you get that, then you'll be able to get Tao. Okay. All right.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay.
Help us struggle.
All right. So once we understand it, and once we get the Tao, then we can. Once we learn more, we practice as we're learning. Maybe we'll get a better perspective on life, and it will help us through our struggles. And then as we, perform merits, cultivate our virtues, that will also help overcome those obstacles. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that's all right. Next question. What is the first thing to do for those who receive Tao and wants to advance? Okay. Basically, it's very important that we all have faith. Okay, faith in God, faith in that truth. So we have to, basically establish and strengthen that faith. Sometimes, it's when we're struggling, it's kind of hard to have that faith, right? But it's really during those times of struggle that we can really strengthen our faith. Okay. And once we strengthen our faith, that can help us overcoming those obstacles. And in the future, it becomes easier. It becomes easier, okay, as our faith is unshakable, right? So the faith is really the foundation of Tao practice. Actually, the foundation of, all religious practices. They all depend on faith. Faith is also the fountainhead of, building up our merits. So really, our merits are things that we do. There's actually, you can say, external merits and internal merits, and it's related to our virtues. But in doing things for the good of others, or to benefit others, and doing it because it's the right thing to do, the good thing to do, right? Not because I'm seeking something in return, then it's no longer true merit, okay? Because that really then still leads to karma. You get karmic blessings as a result of that, okay? And so we want to go beyond that. So by just doing it you can say for the love of God, just do it, and we just forget about it, okay? So once it's done, and we don't keep thinking about it, right? Then that is what's true merit, okay? And you can say that's also true virtue, okay? So that is really part of our practice is very important, is understanding that and to be able to practice it in that way, right? So obviously it's also following our true self or our true nature, or you can say that's our conscience, okay? everyone has a conscience, even criminals, bad people, but they just kind of blank it out. They just ignore it, right? But they do know that when they're caught, they maybe they feel shame, right? So that's their conscience nagging them. But so hopefully for us, our conscience is at the forefront. It's not in the background. Okay, it's in the very front, and front and center, and we are always consciously aware of that. Okay, so yeah, once we receive the Tao, people. Well, we say, once you receive the Tao, we can transcend the cycle of life and death, but we have to practice. I mean, we can't just say, "Oh, I received the Tao. Oh, that's it. I got my ticket to heaven." But hey, if you miss the bus, you're still not going to get there, or you missed the flight.
Easy, right?
Yeah. So you still need to, put in the effort, to cultivate. All right. Okay, so now what are the effects after one receives Tao? So we say, people ask, is there any proof, that people went to heaven? Actually, receiving the Tao opens up that heavenly portal. The heavenly portal is in the Bible, it would say the narrow gate. Okay, so that is the way to heaven. It's opening up our wisdom eye. Basically, when we receive the Tao, then that hopefully we will, you can say, let that wisdom percolate out. Okay, so we all have the wisdom, the same wisdom as the saints and sages and Buddhas. Okay, it's just that it's suppressed, maybe it's covered up, and so part of the practice is to kind of reveal that wisdom, because that wisdom really is the best guide for us in our lives. Okay, I mean, we can try to get all sorts of knowledge, people telling us all sorts of things, but it's not as good as having our own wisdom. Okay, so that's very important. And so we will have greater wisdom. We have to learn to let go of things, and not be stubborn, things like that. Okay. Now, if we also need to repent, right? If we can repent, perhaps we don't know what we did in past lives, but we can see the effects of it in this life. We know, okay, so maybe I did something wrong before, and that's why I'm suffering now. We can repent and say, please forgive me, and also not to harbor any kind of hatred or anger towards that. Why we're suffering now, because that will only perpetuate that karma. And so if we want to get out of it, we can't fall into that. We have to kind of accept it with, just be able to accept it and be repentant, and really appreciate the fact that, yes, this suffering will allow me to strengthen my faith, to want to cultivate more, and to be a better person, to ultimately to transcend this life and death. And when in that way, I think that karma then can be resolved more quickly. Okay, so basically, we face things with love rather than hate. When we face it with love, that will dissolve a lot of, the negativity. Okay. Okay. So also when we perform, so if we do repent and we perform merits and live a more virtuous life, then we can also escape these other disasters and calamities and whatever that might come about. Okay. We would leave also this world when it's time to leave. We leave it in peace. We are at that point we are willing to go. If we're still hanging on to stuff in this life, it's very hard for us to leave. Okay, not in the physical sense. Yes, we're going to die, but it means it's going to drag us back. I mean, it becomes like a karmic force that pulls us back into this cycle again. And so we have to be willing to let go in the end, right? We have to let go of our loved ones, let go of everything that we have in the end. It's just that, in this life, yes, we have those relationships, that affinity, but it hopefully it's resolved in this life. Everything is resolved in this one lifetime, and that we can let it go. Okay, so everything's fulfilled. Okay, and so we can leave then peacefully to transcend. Okay, so that and then to leads to the next question. Basically, can the effects of receiving Tao be proven? Okay, so basically, we all know that a corpse is, there's this process called rigor mortis, right? They become stiff. But those who receive the Tao, and those basically, or maybe they haven't received the Tao, people who really cultivate, like a lot of monks, saints, right? Sages, when they pass away, their bodies are supple, they're flexible, okay? And so that is kind of like a proof. So for us, even though we haven't cultivated as well as they have, but we received this Tao, that heavenly portals open, that means that we can leave peacefully, we can return back to heaven. Okay, so we can transcend the cycle. And that is kind of one proof, if you will. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone who receives the Tao will be like that. Those who commit sins, afterwards, they don't really cultivate, they may not. Okay, so and if that happens, then it's possible that they don't transcend the cycle. Okay, so that they still might end up, reincarnating or having to go to the underworld to suffer for a while, and etc. Yeah. All right.
Add something to the previous point.
Yeah.
Living the world in peace and living a more harmonious life. Yeah, because like the law of physics, like attracts like. And I have a feeling the longer I'm with this cultivation, and just feel if I always have the proper thoughts, I have the positive thoughts, and then everything just flows very smoothly. I'm peaceful, and I feel my fruit, the fruit of creativity and productivity is just very smooth. And sometimes when we do encounter some difficulty or some problems, if we just become obsessed with the problems, then it's going to make it worse. That's how I experience. And so when something happens, we just kind of quickly use our mentality, our attitude to turn things around. And we might want to introspect and see this happened probably because of something that we didn't do properly, and so we try to reflect on things past and try to quickly correct. And the most important thing is that we try to think positively. We try to, like Chotai said, try to do good things, and I think that's the best way to solve the problems and the difficulties.
More positive energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think attitude is very important. So being positive, being optimistic, these are things that, because really what's in our heart and mind can affect the outcome of things. It's very strong influence, has a very strong influence. Although we say, a lot of things are happening from the external side that we cannot control, but what we can control is what's in our heart and mind. Okay, so we can kind of transform that into one of harmony, peace, love, being positive. These are all the things that can help us to overcome any external difficulties. Okay. So besides that, the proof, you can say, of the body being flexible on death, there's also in the Tao, we can invite or bring the souls of those deceased back to the altar to actually communicate with us, okay, through a channeling, okay. Although that's becoming harder and harder because it's becoming more rare because the channel mediums, they're getting fewer and fewer, okay. But there are examples of that that we have, from previously, all right. Okay. I'll mention an example. Like, for example, my mother, right? She passed away in 2003 in August. In the following year, we had one of those sessions where we invited, had her soul, you can say, brought to the temple, the altar. It's not like we're doing it. It's one of the Buddhas, the Jigong Buddha, who we call our holy teacher. He's the one who brought her back to kind of talk to us through what we call the sand writing. Okay, and you know, to me, well, to a lot of people, I mean, it was proof that it was her because there was very specific thing. She had this book, okay, that she was a transmitting master, okay, and she has this book that all transmitting masters get, and she was supposed to return it. Well, they're supposed to. It's kind of like in the ancient times, the king, whoever gives like what, I don't know, like a seal or something of authority to the person, right? They receive that, and then once they're completed their mission, they return it back. And so they're supposed to return it back, but she didn't. And we were looking for that, or some other transmitters, they were looking for it, couldn't find it. And so in that sand writing, then she described exactly what she put it. So it's like only she would know. Okay, I didn't even know. Okay.
I also want to say, for me, I had two, my aunt and a cousin of mine who was very connected spiritually and struggled in this life, but rose above it in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
She recently passed. She comes to me quite often through music, which was her thing, and my aunt suffered in life, and in the end, she was able to give it all up and pretty much just come to a peace. But she told me on her last day, she said, "Joe, they don't understand. I just don't want to be here no more. I'm ready." And she died, and I just think it was her. She wanted to be reincarnated. I don't think she had it with this one, with this world.
Right.
And there's others that I don't think did, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Coincidences, and for yourself, because it was your experience with that love.
Right.
So that's the connection.
Right. Yeah. So okay. So all right. Okay. So so that was just one example of things. Okay. Now, okay. The next question says, should one become a vegetarian after receiving the Tao? Okay. So now most of us here are vegetarian. Well, because we've been here for longer in the Tao, but it's not a requirement, okay, to be vegetarian. But why? The reason why it is very important is to show compassion. That's God created all creatures, all living beings. Who are we to say that I can kill anyone and eat them, right? And so that is one of the premises that why we should be vegetarian. And so the idea is that we want to, should be our goal. Okay, even if we're not vegetarian now, that should be our goal is sometime during this lifetime. Hopefully it's not on the last day. Wait until the last day, right? But why? Because actually the longer that we are not vegetarian means that we're still accumulating a lot of karmic debts, okay? These animals, they have, souls, if you will. They do have a soul. They certainly don't want to be killed and eaten. And so there's a lot of pent up anger, hatred from them, okay, towards those who eat them and kill them. And they're going to want that payback, okay? And so if you look at today, there's a lot of incidences of cancer, various types of disease, or even other types of diseases, etc. A lot of that is karmic, does a karmic paybacks, okay? So, and so if we want to avoid that, then we should definitely. Now, by being vegetarian doesn't necessarily mean that we won't get the karmic results from, I didn't become fully vegetarian until I was, I don't know, in my 30s maybe. So I ate all that meat up until then. And so that's I have to pay it back. Okay, I have to pay back those debts. And so the only way to do that is to perform merits, and to establish our virtues. And our holy teacher Jigong Buddha, he can help us to negotiate with these spirits and say, hey, he's practicing, he's cultivating, he's got some merits. And these spirits, for the most part, they want to get those merits too, because it helps them. In rare cases, they don't want it, but for the most part, they do. And so the more we perform with these merits, then the more of these debts we can pay off. Okay, and so we can then avoid these calamities and disasters that might befall us later on. Okay, so that's why it's very important. But being a vegetarian, at least we cut off the source, right? We don't create any more karmic debts. I mean, if we're trying to pay off our debts and we keep accumulating debts, it's endless, right? So once we cut off, stop accumulating debts, then we can gradually pay off what we do owe. Okay. Any type of animal products that the meat, whatever, also is considered yin energy, the negative energy. Okay, so there's yin and yang, right? Our true self, our true nature, you can say our soul is positive energy. Okay, and so we should not. I mean, by eating the meat, we are basically contaminating ourselves with that negative energy, the yin. Okay, so. And actually, it's not just animal products. It includes basically the garlic and onion family of plants. Okay, so shallots, leeks, chives, okay, those things. And also tobacco, okay. So these are things that we should also, we also try to avoid, okay. As, if you're practicing in the Tao for longer, you'll notice that we do have a vow that we make, that is the vegetarian vow. And then once we take that vow, then we eliminate all this stuff, okay?
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Like the garlic and all that.
Right.
Why is that?
It harms the chi. So our body has this spiritual energy, okay? So it harms the chi, the energy of the heart. Okay, even though, Western medicine, right, they say, oh, okay, it's good for your heart. They say it's good for your heart. It's good for the blood, right? It thins the blood. That's true to a certain extent. But then what they can't measure, what they don't see, is that it does harm the vitality, I guess, the chi of the heart. Okay, so for a vegetarian, I mean, usually we would not have. Okay, so why would you want to take garlic? Okay, so why would doctors say prescribe that garlic for you? Basically, we have cholesterol. We have all these things. It's basically cholesterol. Okay, that's really the reason that our blood is too thick, and there's all that stuff in there, and so this can help kind of thin it out a little bit. Okay, but obviously, again, if we don't cut it off at the source, it's going to be never ending, right? So we have to stop eating the stuff that gives us cholesterol. Now, as a vegetarian, we won't eat those things. Okay, so.
Well, cholesterol, the bad cholesterol.
Yeah.
Say, LDL.
Yeah.
Whatever. That causes plaque.
Right.
On your
the hardening
right.
within the
inside the intestine. So that's what
Yeah, I mean, it just narrows the
So blood can't flow.
Right.
So, that's what.
Right. So, if we eliminate those products from our diet, then it'll naturally. Actually, a lot of these things, through our diet, we can change our health. Okay, improve our health, and so people who have a lot of cholesterol, they can, there are doctors who, to tell them, go on a strict diet regimen that can clear it all out. Okay, in a few months' time, and so if we don't have any cholesterol in our blood. Our arteries are very clear, then there's no need for garlic, right? So in that sense, we could say, you treat garlic as a medicine, and there's no need to take that medicine for us. Okay, so obviously people are still eating meat, they have cholesterol, then yeah, they'll probably need to take. They say, yeah, you know, it's good to take garlic, but right. So for us, we want to cut it off at the source. You know, be vegetarian, then there's no need. Okay. Plus the garlic, you know, I mean, it's kind of a matter of taste, I guess, if you will, but it does smell. I mean, it's the odor. Okay. Just like onions, you know, they have that odor. And so, but from the Chinese, you can say Chinese medicine point of view, they have this negative energy. Okay, so that's also not good for us, right?
But in terms of garlic as a medicine,
Yeah.
it also, why meat eaters have to or continue to eat it because it helps them to thin their blood,
Right.
so that they can have that blood flow. So, because of the blockage caused from the meat, but in reality, you don't really need it if they become vegetarian.
Right. So yeah, there are other ways to overcome that. So rather than, you know, unfortunately in this, I guess you can say in this society, this culture, it's kind of very, I don't know, you say contradictory, and it's like they want to have their cake and eat it too. I mean, they basically you know. It's not about prevention. It's like, you know, I want to do the things I want to do, but then I'll take the medicine and things to try to fix that. But then it's like continuous. It's like, I don't know.
It's like
That's
it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, right? It's a
Yeah.
vicious cycle. And you just keep continuing.
Right.
It's so you're never treating the
the source of the
You're
problem.
only treating the symptoms.
The symptoms, right? Okay. All right. Okay. So this next one is an interesting question. Is it a sin if one does not practice Tao after receiving the Tao? Okay. So obviously, you know, what do we mean by sin? Basically, if we don't practice the Tao, I mean, we continue our normal stuff. I mean, we eat meat or whatever, do all these things. We're going to create karma. Okay, we create all sorts of karma. That's really what the sin is about. Okay, the karma, and so we have to reap the consequences later on.
Well, sin, you can say anything that goes against your conscience.
Right.
Okay. So does that imply morality? Yeah, it covers some, but some may not be morality. It could be ethical or propriety. You
Yeah.
know. So it's very broad. Where sin is very narrow.
Yeah, it becomes.
It implies, you know, you committed something morally wrong, that, you know, that's against the gods or guys against God. So I think sin is too narrow.
Yeah,
It's
here.
too very narrow, and so it's not a good, you know, it's not a good description. You know, rather I would say, you know, anything that goes against your conscience, right? You know, that goes against your conscience. So that could imply a lot of things, right? A lot of
Right.
things. And so it has nothing to do with saying, oh, God, you know, laid down certain, I don't know, rules or whatever. And so if it goes against it, that's a sin, right? Right? I mean, Ten Commandments, for example.
Mhm.
That's an example. So actually, you know, conscience is broader than that, right?
Yeah.
Anything that's conscience, even lying or something, you know, whatever, you know. So, you know, right? So
Right.
we should have said it's a sin, but rather that's something that goes against your conscience. Right. It's like you're going against your true nature.
Yeah.
If you really want to be more specific, okay?
Right.
But you people don't know that true.
Right,
They
right.
think it's their conscious thought,
Right.
and that's wrong. So that's wrong.
Right. Yeah. So basically, you know, the disasters, calamities, things that, or, you know, sufferings that we end up with are the result of our actions. Okay. So we are accountable. We are held to account, and so. You know, realizing that, then just like we were talking about earlier, so we, you know, it does make sense that we need to practice. We need to perform merits to develop, establish our virtues in order to, for one, not create any more of this karma or sins, and then to pay off whatever, you know, to repent and to pay off any karmic debts that we have and resolve those. Okay, so I think it's kind of you can say it's a logical argument to say, yeah, then obviously we do need to practice, we need to cultivate. By just receiving the Tao itself it's like taking the first step, but we're still quite a ways from actually reaching the destination. So taking that one step is not enough. Okay, so we have to continue. Okay, all right. Now, I don't know. There's some people who say, well, if we don't cultivate, there are, yeah, there's some penalties. I don't know if that.
I think there are two levels of the practice part. One level is like we say to perfect our own virtue,
Right.
establish ourselves, and the other part may be to help also propagate the Tao, to like we say help others also realize their Buddha nature.
Right.
I guess if we don't do the first part, that's even worse, right? Maybe the second part.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah. So there's this internal and external part, right? The internal is like getting rid of our bad habits, getting rid of our temperament, the internal virtues. But we have to express that too, right? Show that, manifest it in everyday life and in helping others. It's hard to say, you need one over the other. You need both. It's one. Okay, it's two sides of the same coin. Okay, so that's something that we have to realize that it has to be both. Yeah, but
Yeah, it has to be both. But then, okay, I know we're going to philosophy. The Western philosophy called existential.
Existentialism.
No, not. Yeah, well, yeah. We don't have time to talk. But yeah, the most people think of existentialism is what Sartre is saying. Actually, it precedes that. It goes way back to Kierkegaard and Nietzsche and those people. But that's okay. That's okay. That's called. There's a very key important phrase. Oh, it's called subjective idealism. That's another branch of philosophy. Okay, that Kant kind of started the ball rolling with that. But anyway, or maybe even before that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, we're not talking about philosophy. So there's a question about essence and existence. Yeah. Okay. So like you say, the two parts. So the essence you can say is the internal side, because it's something that you can't see, you can't touch. It's intangible. Whereas existence is tangible, external. Okay. So in existentialism, they have this phrase, very key phrase. I think not Heidegger. Who was it? Nietzsche? No. I forgot. It doesn't matter. They say existence precedes essence. Some people talk about that. Yeah. He said, see, that's wrong. Okay, that's wrong. and because existence comes from something. Existence don't just happen. Okay. So there is essence. So that's why we have to cultivate internally. I get back to our essence. Okay. Once we have that essence down pat, done well, then existence will naturally flow, will come from that. So the key is everything has to flow from that, from the essence. We try not to do the existence part first because it's like saying you're treating the symptoms but not treating the core cause. Okay, so it's hard to do it that way. Okay, because that way is really what science is all about. Because they look at existence. They don't care about the spiritual realm. They don't care. They don't know anything about the essence. All they look at is phenomena. They look at phenomena and they treat that existence as preceding essence. Okay, and so that's why the way, actually, the best way, maybe that's a better term, the most ideal way of cultivation is you have to treat your essence first, or start from the essence first. Maybe that's a better term. Okay, start from the essence, then existence. So that's why a lot of people, when we're cultivating, they do a lot of good things externally. They say, I brought a lot of people to receive the Tao. I donated a lot of money. I built temples and God knows what. But they themselves don't look at the internal side and cultivate the side. Say, wait a minute, I still have a lot of idiosyncrasies or bad habits, etc., temper, and if you don't treat that
Yeah,
really,
first.
it's not to say that, it's not to say that, whatever, things you do externally has no merit. No, it does. There's merit, but that merit is not as high or as complete as if you also have done your internal side. Okay, because once again, everything starts from the essence. So that's what we mean by also non-conditioned. See, because if you look at existence, everything's conditioned externally. So therefore, your merit is conditioned, i.e., limited, has limitations. Whereas if you start from the essence side, it's non-conditioned. That's what we call wu wei. Lao Tzu called it wu wei. Okay, and so if you could do that very well, then the rest flows very naturally.
Right.
Okay, that's one of the important teaching points of Diamond Sutra, by the way. Okay. If you guys want to know. Okay.
Yeah. I mean the.
Among other
Yeah.
sutras. Okay.
Oh. Yeah. So I mean the essence is really, yeah, you can say it's most important because the existence is a manifestation of that. Okay. So so yeah, you can say the essence does come first in that sense, right? If there's an order
But
to
actually,
it.
it's coexistence.
I mean, they do they always exist, but
simultaneous.
Yeah,
Remember, that's
right.
why we have to call it the concomitant,
concomitant.
right? Concomitant, right? 即用沾染，right? 即用，
急躁。
那急躁同时急躁同时比较广，即用沾染 is a little bit more specific. OK， 用公用的用，沾三点水的沾，沾染自然的染 ，right？ 沾染 ，anybody know that? OK， that
Right.
means like simultaneous
Yeah.
or naturally flows or whatever. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like
you
two
can't.
sides of the
Yeah,
same
you
coin.
can't have one without the other.
Correct.
Basically,
Correct.
I mean they'll
But they
both
coexist.
coexist.
See, people say, oh, ultimately everything is nothing, empty.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, they want to get to the essence, which is, yeah, that's true. You can't see it, it's intangible. But to say only everything, only essence is real is not, it's not 100% correct. Because you have to say that there is also existence. So existence is real, it's just that it's not eternal. I mean, it does. I mean, we're all sitting around here. It's not, we're delusional. It's in fact, it's true that we exist now. 1,000 years ago? No, of course not. 1,000 years future? Of course not. But for now, we exist. But there's also an essence that's also present. And that's eternal. Yes, that's eternal. And that's intangible. That's, right? So simultaneous.
Yeah, I mean the essence creates this existence. Okay, and it.
You
cannot-
can say,
you-
it's like saying, existence cannot come into being or come exist without that essence.
Right.
Put it
Right.
that
I mean,
way.
yeah.
Okay.
Right, but then you don't just have the essence without existence either.
Mhm.
I mean, if there is, then you would not have this universe. Okay, this universe would not exist. Okay, so that's why it's, in other words, that essence, although it is like you can say quiescent in a quiescent state of
Still.
quiescence,
Still, motion,
But-
whatever.
it cannot stay in that state. It's not always like in that
It's not-
state.
right.
I mean, it's because if it's in that state forever, then nothing happens.
Correct.
It's just nothing.
Correct.
There's nothing else. It's just empty. Okay, but the fact is there is everything, and so it coexists. I mean, I don't know. It's hard
Yeah.
hard to describe that, but
Concomitant.
yeah.
Concomitant.
Yeah.
Whatever. It means simultaneous,
Right,
whatever. I
right.
mean, whatever.
right. Okay, so all right. The next, okay, maybe. Oh, yeah, end it there. Okay, all right. I guess we'll.
How much more you have?
Well, there's a lot of questions in this, but I mean, we don't have to cover everything. But or next time we can continue with some other questions. But well, this question here, why can't Tao be explained before it's transmitted? Actually, Okay, so the explanation here is not, I mean, it's not really, uh, the Tao, although we want everyone to receive the Tao, because receiving the Tao is basically getting salvation, okay? They have the chance to achieve salvation. But not everyone is ready for it, you can say. You know, they might not be willing to accept, for one, okay? And so, but in the past, you know, the saints and sages who were enlightened, they were very selective as to who they would transmit this Tao to, okay? And so we have to also be careful. We don't just drag any old person in. You know, if this person we know is doing a lot of bad things, and, you know, usually we try to transform, let them change their ways first, let them a little bit understand, and then they can receive the blessing, okay? But ultimately, the transmission of Tao is, this Tao is, they have to go through this transmission, okay? This transmission is a wordless transmission, okay? It's like a heart-to-heart connection between you and God, you and the Buddha, okay? So, so we can't really just talk about it. Talk is just knowledge, okay? I'm just giving you some knowledge, but that is not the real transmission, okay? So they have to go through, experience it themselves, okay? So that's what, so, you know, hopefully, you know, later today, after the classes, you know, if you're willing to receive that blessing, then yeah, you're going to go through that experience yourself, okay? And that's the only way to really receive this Tao, okay?
Well, it's the three treasures.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's to point out what those three treasures are, and they are within us, actually, okay? But we don't realize
Yeah,
it.
so that question, why can't Tao be explained first? That Tao, I mean, it's kind of old vague.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it's vague, because Tao can mean many different
Right.
things, different levels. So I think maybe, you know, you can narrow it down by
About the
saying,
three,
well, yeah, you should talk about the three treasures. Then that sentence. I mean, that question is valid.
Right, right.
We can talk about
Yeah,
Tao
in general. Yeah,
the
right.
principles,
Right.
you know, in general. That's different.
right.
Yeah, why can't we explain the three treasures?
No, because again, that's knowledge. Okay, so the Tao is not just knowledge. Okay, so giving someone a knowledge does not help them. I mean, it might help them a little bit, but most people, they take knowledge as everything. They say, "Oh, this is it. This is it." Okay, so then I don't need to go through the ceremony. All right, just tell me what it is. But that's useless. That's just, you can say, dead knowledge. Okay, it's
I think it has a lot to do with your own life experience and where you're at in your journey. And deep down inside, you will know if you're ready to understand what's kind of happening. Of course, there's people on so many different levels and planes in life.
Right.
Some people never have touched on, have never went deeper into themselves, or
Yeah.
have never really, you know,
I think most people.
most people
Yeah.
really haven't.
Yeah.
They're just very surface, and they do believe that all that material thing will help them.
right.
For myself, I know that's not the answer. It's something inside, deep down inside that needs to be cultivated. And I have the starting of it. I could honestly say I have the starting of it. Am I understanding of everything? No. No. There's a lot to it,
Right.
but I can understand a lot.
Yeah.
True.
The big reason why three treasures cannot be explained to people is, is actually, yes, it by just talking about its knowledge is useless. Even though you may know it, it's useless because we have to go through that ritual because only the Buddha can unlock that door. All right? Okay? So I explained to you, I talked to you about the three treasures, just knowledge. So what? The door's still locked.
Right.
So it's useless. So you have to go through that ceremony. You have to go through that ceremony. That's why even in the red period, they have a ceremony too, right? 6th patriarch had to go to the 5th patriarch's room at night to, yes, he was given the three treasures, but it's not written down that he did that ceremony,
Mhm.
right? It's not written down, okay? That he had to go through it. Same thing with Buddha. When he became enlightened, right? Dipankara did that ceremony, okay? Because why Dipankara and why 5th patriarch? Because they have a mandate. They have a mandate. So it's connected with a mandate too, okay? I mean, the ceremony obviously has to be conducted with a person with a mandate, obviously, right? That's a given, right? Otherwise, that ceremony is worthless, right?
Right.
So that's where the main reason is, right?
Yeah.
You can explain it, so what?
Yeah, right.
So what? I just have knowledge, but that door's still locked. That first treasure, that main door is still locked. Who cares? It's useless. You have knowledge, but it's locked. You still can't get out.
Right.
Get out or leave it there.
Right.
Okay? Right?
That is for those who haven't received down. For those who have received down and they forget the true treasure.
No, the door's still open. The question is, they may not know how to get there. I mean, how to leave through there. They may be, depending on individuals, like I said, individuals' character, okay, or level of, we could say level of understanding or level of realization, not just understanding, because understanding is broad, realization is more specific. Realization, they may not know to lead through there. They may, because maybe, I don't know, they enjoy listening to music all the time. I don't know. So maybe even though they receive the vow, the three treasures, that door is unlocked. But it's their habit, it's their habitual nature that they rather leave through their ears because they enjoy listening to a lot of music. I don't know, whatever. You understand? So that's why they have to know. Know or realize that.
Yeah.
Ooh, I have to leave through that door.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Because we have to take a break, and then, well, if there's interest, we can continue this some other time. Because the next
you
class
just-
with
yeah.
Johnny will do his thing. Right.
Future date.
No, it doesn't matter. It's up to.
What are you doing? Yeah, don't be modest here. Don't be modest.
All right. Okay. All right. So if I had said anything incorrectly or not well, I ask the Buddhist for forgiveness and also for your corrections. Thank you.
One